I ate zero things for an entire week. Why? What happened? What were the results? All of the answers to those questions coming right up. Welcome to Get It Together, and if you're new here, this channel is just me trying to figure out how to get my life together and sharing the tips and lessons I learn along the way. And as you may have gathered from the intro, this is my experience of doing a complete 7-day extended fast. But why did I do it? I did a good job sticking with keto and time-restricted eating for about 11 months, and then in the first 24 days of December completely fell off the rails, gaining 15 pounds and 5% of body fat, shooting me right back into the red obesity zone. The second reason are the tremendously interesting studies that I've read that show that calorie restriction, or eating less, actually leads to less fat loss, more muscle loss, and constant hunger compared to calorie cessation, or fasting, that is, eating nothing, which has surprising muscle retention and simultaneous greater fat loss. After all, when we think of losing weight, what we really care about is losing fat. Okay, so what were the rules? Pretty simple. The only things allowed into my food hole would be water and supplements, and that's it. For those interested, I took a symphony of supplements. That's 7 pills a day that included vitamin C, D3, K, E, B complex, turmeric, and something called OrthoCore that included minerals like potassium, magnesium, calcium, and a whole bunch of other stuff. There were a bunch of kind of surprising experience and lessons throughout the week of zero food, and I thought it makes sense to give you a really quick day-by-day experiential breakdown in case any of you are interested in doing an extended fast as well. Day 1 was easy peasy. As someone who for months had one meal a day, or put conversely, fasted for 23 and a half hours every single day, the first 24 hours were a breeze. And honestly, even if you've never fasted, I personally believe that literally anyone can go extreme on anything for just one day. Day 2 was pretty smooth, at least for the first half of the day. I mean, for about a year, I'd been used to eating my first bit of food around 4 or 5 p.m., so even though I didn't have anything to eat the day before, my body's internal clock was operating on the same expectations. It wasn't until about 9 p.m. that my mouth felt weird, and this is an important distinction. It wasn't my stomach that felt particularly empty, but rather, it was the inside of my mouth that felt the most noticeably different. I took this time to take my supplements and chug a bunch of water, but the weird feeling didn't subside. I just laid down to watch Netflix, and at midnight, I decided to turn off the lights and go to bed. But problem was, this nagging feeling in my mouth wouldn't let up, and so I started watching stuff on YouTube on my phone, and the next thing I knew, it was past 4 in the morning. After setting a bunch of alarms, I eventually did pass out from sheer overkill fatigue, which brought us into day 3. I woke up around 10 in the morning, and magically, I guess again going back to the habitual internal fasting clock I'd been on, did not feel any hunger. What I did feel though was just a general lack of energy, where I puttered around all day, and since I woke up so late, just felt a bit unmotivated, and that lack of energy didn't make things any better. That mouth hunger returned in the evening, and at around 10 at night, I felt the very first hint of stomach hunger for the first time. Taking supplements and chugging water did indeed help a little bit, but that mouth hunger was the real killer. It helped that I was super tired from sleeping less than 5 hours the night before, so my fatigue overwhelmed the hunger again, and I was out like a light before midnight. Day 4 was, I suppose, both the best and the worst. It was the worst because I had my first bout of real distracting hunger, both mouth and stomach hunger at the same time, that both started much earlier than expected around noon. But it was the best because I found a mouth hunger solution, a solution to the problem that was keeping me up way too late and feeling unenergetic. And that simple solution is sea salt. It's absolutely insane. Chewing and crunching a few rocks of sea salt, like literally 3 or 4 tiny rocks, was magical. I did this 2 more times throughout the day, and when that mouth hunger returned aggressively at night, again crunching a few rocks immediately cured the sensation, and I passed out swiftly. Day 5 brought a psychological challenge and yet a renewed sense of motivation for a few reasons. The first point of motivation is that I made it past the halfway point and was, by all accounts, fine. Second, reading a few articles and anecdotal write-ups before I started from those who have done extended fasts before, almost all signs stated that 3rd and 4th days were the toughest, but that hunger vanished afterwards. And so being in day 5, I was looking forward to not feeling any hunger, but what those articles I read suggested did not ring true for me. I still felt very hungry, both a combination of that weird mouth hunger and stomach hunger. But the good news is, my energy rebounded back to the pre-fast levels, and thankfully, crunching down on just 3 or 4 rocks of sea salt, then chugging a glass of water solved the hunger cravings for me like it did the day before. The interesting thing is that every instance of stomach hunger came and went within 10 or 15 minutes of distraction, while mouth hunger didn't go away with just patience. So thank goodness for sea salt. What amplified energy restoration was just doing 75 two-handed kettlebell swings, which I later discovered is not just a recommendation, but a true requirement for extended fasts. Not specifically kettlebell swings, but rather doing some form of resistance training daily to both drive energy levels and, more importantly, mitigate loss of muscle mass. Day 6 was sort of magical. Energy was self-sustaining, and although a bit late to the game, stomach hunger vanished completely. Performing those kettlebell swings made me feel great, and to be clear, the entire workout, and I use the word workout jokingly, lasted less than 2 minutes. I'm talking 25 swings, a 20-second rest, then another 25 swings, another 20-second rest, and then the final 25 swings. This, by the way, was taken straight from Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Body, as what he calls a minimum effective dose workout. If you're interested in getting all of the details, I've linked The 4-Hour Body in the description below. With no stomach hunger, sustained energy throughout the day, I still experienced the mouth hunger, especially close to bedtime, so you guessed it. Chewing a few rocks of salt, then downing a water solved that, and I fell asleep like a baby. Day 7, this was by far the easiest day, as it's supposed to be. With my body now in full ketosis mode, happily and exclusively using my body fat as fuel, I experienced zero hunger. And by the way, for those interested in keto and getting into a state of ketosis, extended fasting is the easiest way to guarantee getting there as quickly as possible, with research indicating 4 days to be a pretty confident timeline for most to slide into ketosis. For me, with quite a slow metabolism, I chose to do a week just to be sure. And by the way, if you're interested in the differences between being in ketosis and being keto adapted, feel free to check out this video, I'll link right over here. All in all, as the week closed off, next up in this video are the 4 core lessons I learned, and of course, the actual results of my 7-day fast. Lesson 1. Preparation is key, both mental prep and physical space prep. For the mental prep side of things, it's really about reinforcing your whys before commencing. The day by day will be tough, but with establishing your mind to see the prize, whether it's rapid fat loss, detoxification, accelerated ketosis, or all of the above, clarifying your reasons for yourself before you begin is huge. As for physical space prep, this is about making the disciplinary push-pull factors as easy for you as possible. If you live on your own, this is super easy, just literally don't have any food at home. But if you live with others, it's about having the tools that'll make discipline easier for you at arm's length. As an example for me, at the onset, this was having this 26-ounce water bottle, so there was always plenty of water to be had. Though unplanned, later on, having sea salt on hand was a game changer, and it's something I definitely recommend for anyone thinking of attempting an extended fast, which leads us to lesson 2. Micronutrients and electrolytes are the difference between starvation and healthy fasting. We can go a long time without food. I'm saying in a real survival situation, food is the least of our worries, especially if you're like me with plenty of body fat to spare. True starvation, the dangerous kind, is not about lacking caloric fuel, since again our body fat has plenty of calories there for us, but rather is about the chemical and electrical imbalances and misfires preventing our bodies from functioning properly at a cellular level. Though absolutely possible without supplements from a week-long fast perspective, I just didn't think it's worth putting the internals under the unnecessary deficiency, as taking supplements do not impact the benefits of an extended fast. Vitamins A, B, C, D, E, K, calcium, magnesium, and zinc are all critical for our bodies, but just as, if not more important, for an extended fast are electrolytes like potassium and sodium. Electrolytes are so important, in fact, that I'm in the midst of working on a deep dive video for them. But speaking of sodium, this leads us to lesson 3. Mouth hunger and stomach hunger are different, and sea salt is a great solution for both. This, like I said earlier, was an accidental discovery for me, but I'm so thankful I found it because it was the most monumental game changer experientially. That mouth hunger was the most annoying part of the 7-day fast because unlike stomach hunger, where it passed if I just distracted myself with work or something else for 15 minutes, mouth hunger was so persistent for me. But now, anytime I experience that sensation, I take literally 3 to 6 tiny rocks of sea salt and chomp on them. This, I realized, does a few key things. First, crunchiness offers the most tactile feedback in mouth, which gives you the greatest sense of actually eating. Second, the saltiness, especially in the aftertaste, really feels like you just ate something. Finally, the actual benefit of the electrolyte playing its biological role of regulating cellular function optimizes energy, and we all acutely anchor being energetic with having eaten. It's to the point where on day 6, I went to Costco and bought 2 more of these sea salt bottles and keep one on my work desk and one on my bedside table. Anytime hunger strikes, chomp on a few rocks, whether for psychological satiety or regulated energy. And speaking of energy, lesson 4 has to do with physical movement. One of the biggest negative side effects of this extended fast was a drastic drop in energy levels in the first 4 days. Sea salt helped a lot, but what took it over the edge was just some intentional physical activity. Those kettlebell swings were incredible, and they took just 2 minutes out of my day and made a markedly large difference. But more importantly, one of the major fears of weight loss is loss of muscle. In general, when you lose weight, you will lose some muscle, but the goal is to have a much larger proportion of the weight that gets shredded to be fat. It's a well-documented fact by now that eating nothing retains much more muscle than eating less. But anything engages the muscles further reduces the loss of muscle, and this, of course, is a perfect time to go into the most exciting part of this video: the results. Here are my day 1 stats taken on December 25th. Yikes, just 24 days from December 1st to Christmas Eve, I shot up nearly 15 pounds and an insane 5% body fat to 191.6 pounds and 27.4% body fat, right back into the red obesity range. Now, here are my day 7 stats. In 1 week, I dropped 11.6 pounds in weight, but that matters much less than the composition of that loss. When it comes to body fat percentage, I dropped 2.6%, just clearing me out of that red obesity range into the acceptable green range. Muscle mass wise, I lost 1.9 pounds of muscle. So if I subtract the 11.6 total of weight loss with the 1.9 lost in muscle, that leaves 9.7 pounds lost. But it's important to note that not all 9.7 pounds is fat. There's water weight as well. So let's quickly figure it out. Day 1's body fat of 27.4% of day 1's weight of 191.6 pounds equals 52.4 pounds of fat. And day 7's body fat percentage of 24.8 of day 7's weight of 179.6 equals 44.5 pounds of fat. The difference between them? That's 7.9 pounds of fat. So the final official stats look just like this. In 7 days of eating nothing, I lost 2.6% body fat, 11.6 pounds of total weight, with 7.9 of those pounds being of fat, 1.9 of them being muscle, and 1.8 pounds, presumably, of water weight. That means, of the 11.6 total pounds lost, 68% of that was from fat, 16% of that was from muscle, and 16% was from water. Is that good? Is that bad? From my reading, there's a debatable, sometimes even accused as antiquated fat to muscle loss ratio rule of thumb that says of total body comp loss, 75% in fat and 25% in muscle is healthy. If we remove the 1.8 pounds of water weight and just measure fat and muscle loss against the remaining weight, the 7 days fast yielded an 80% fat to 20% muscle loss ratio. If you happen to have boatloads of experience in this area, please do comment any insights because I'm still pretty underread in this area. In the meantime, my quote-unquote lazier focus is just doing what I can to ensure the Smart Scale app readout moves towards all green. For the past nearly 2 years of using the Renpho Smart Scale and app, that's ultimately what I love most about it. That the major readouts are all represented in colors, and although I'm working towards building significantly more muscle and losing significantly more fat, at the laziest level, ignoring the numbers and just striving to get everything to green is a simple, at-a-glance litmus test. The only way to get control of change is measuring consistently. And if you yourself are interested in the Renpho Smart Scale, I've linked it in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. So what's next? I looked at these results on New Year's Eve and decided that physical movement was the thing most lacking. Starting back up with keto and time-restricted eating with a 20-hour fast and a 4-hour eating window daily, results amplification can only lie in exercise. So for all of January, I've already started and will continue to start every morning with a 2-mile or 3.5-kilometer walk in the freezing cold Canadian winter weather, and continue indoor walking intermittently throughout the day to hit a minimum of 10,000 steps each and every day. I'm so curious to see what strict keto, a 24 fasting schedule, and 10,000 daily steps will yield at the end of the month. And if you yourself are interested as well, be sure to subscribe if you aren't already, so you'll be able to catch that video when it comes out. Oh, and one important thing to mention about extended fasts, like any fast past, say, 2 full days, is how to break the fast. The key is going in 2 stages. The first is a pre-meal with super easy to digest foods like a small portion of cooked veggies, since a raw salad is harder to digest than cooked greens. This pre-meal, about half an hour before the real meal, will gently wake up the gut. The second stage is the real meal, and for me, as someone who has a pretty sensitive stomach, decided to avoid frying with oil and opted to go instead with a hot pot dinner. There was still definitely oil in the broth of the soup, but all of the beef, fish, shrimp, and veggies were all cooked in the broth, and this caused zero stomach issues and was a delicious way to break the 7-day empty tummy. By the way, if you like this video, I think you'll love these two right over here. If you got some value, hit that like button. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you got lots of value, consider subscribing and hitting that bell notifier so you'll catch videos just like this one in the future. If you have any questions or tips for my next extended fast, please let me know in the comments below. But like always, thanks for kicking it with me, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.